Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Aligned Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Torrie Thompson, and we are going to dive this week into healthy foods that have been labeled quote unquote healthy that are really just garbage, and then foods that are truly healthy but have been villainized. So we all know that there's a ton of money to be made in the food industry, especially in the health, wellness, diet industry. And so we often think if it's sold in a health food store, it's got to be healthy, right? I can't tell you how many times I've walked into Whole Foods and overheard people saying this. Well, it's sold at Whole Foods, so it has to be healthy. And unfortunately, that is not even remotely true. There's so much garbage in these stores that is really not anywhere near healthy. Yes, it's better than some of the highly processed foods that you could get in the actual normal grocery stores, but just because it's sold in a health food store does not mean that it is some magic health food that you can now eat a ton of. The first food I want to really dive into is seed oils. Seed oils are oils. They're vegetable oil, canola, sunflower, safflower, and they are used in just about everything from processed food to used in restaurants. Many recipes call for them at home, and many people use vegetable and canola oil because they think it is heart healthy. What they don't realize is these oils are extremely toxic. So they are extracted using really harsh chemicals such as hexane, and then they're heated to very high temperatures, which then oxidizes the fats and then creates all of these harmful byproducts. One of them is 4-HNE, and this is a lipid aldehyde that is associated with neurodegeneration and insulin resistance. They're also very high in omega-6s in contrast to omega-3s. So we need omega-6s and we need omega-3s in our diet. What you want is something that has a balance of both. And ideally, we would have an omega-6 to 3 ratio if we tested our blood of basically 2 to 1. Omega-6, the 2, omega-3 being 1. However, what's happened is because we use so many seed oils, our omega-6 to 3 ratio is very out of balance. The average American is somewhere between 25 to 1 and 40 to 1. Again, we want that 2 to 1. So we are very far off. So they produce, they're very high in omega-6s, not very high in omega-3s. And these long-term consumption of these oxidized seed oils has been linked to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, gut dysbiosis, mitochondrial dysfunction, and a study in 2020 in Nutrients confirmed that excess linoleic acid, which is the byproduct of that omega-6s, is linked to metabolic dysfunction and increased oxidative stress. Remind you, these are the things that have been we've been told forever that they're quote unquote heart healthy. So really avoiding seed oils, and this is really difficult to do 100%. So what you want to do especially is your home. Don't buy products that have seed oils in them. Definitely don't cook in seed oils. Get rid of your vegetable, canola, safflower, sunflower, all of those oils, and cook only in good oils, which we'll get to in a little bit. But ditch that and then really look at your products. You'll be shocked that they're in just about everything. So really try to minimize the amount of the seed oils that you're getting. When you go out, it's very difficult to avoid it, but we can avoid things better at home. The second one is brown rice. That has been the star of the health food industry. I think in the early 2000s, everyone was ditching their white rice and jumping to brown rice. And now people are kind of going back to the white rice because we're learning a lot more about what brown rice actually does to the gut. So it's promoted as a whole grain, but what we don't tell you is it actually contains anti-nutrients. So it has phytates, lectins, and what these guys do is they actually block mineral absorption. So it's going to block things like your zinc and your magnesium. It's going to block your body from actually taking in the minerals from your food. And then it's going to have a really hard outer layer. It makes them very hard to digest. This brown rice makes the brown rice very hard to break down, very hard on the gut lining. So people with sensitive guts, IBS, leaky gut, dysbiosis or imbalance, brown rice is very hard on them. And then where I see a lot of issues with it is brown rice actually contains significantly more arsenic than white rice. So arsenic is a heavy metal. Heavy metals are natural to the Earth's surface. So all fruits and all vegetables have the potential to hold trace amounts of heavy metals, arsenic being one of them. Brown rice holds arsenic significantly more than white rice does. So we often see people that have gone gluten-free, and a lot of gluten-free products are brown rice based. They're doing brown rice protein, brown rice syrup in their protein bars, brown rice crackers and chips, and often we see their arsenic levels a little bit higher. So we really want to be careful with that, because you don't want excess arsenic. We've seen arsenic cause skin issues, developmental issues, all sorts of neurological issues in both children and adults from excess levels. Consumer Report analysis found that many brown rice products in the United States exceeded safe arsenic thresholds. And I don't know if you guys remember, but probably 10 years ago now, a study came out looking at protein powder and found that a lot of the brown rice protein powders had arsenic off the charts. Again, it's just when you're using brown rice, you always have that likelihood. The next one we're going to look at is plant-based milks. So there are good ways you can do this, especially if you are someone that has to be dairy-free. But the ones that I'm really concerned with is oat milk. Oat milk is one that I will not touch. And the big reason being is that it actually spikes blood sugar. Its glycemic index is around 69. And so it's basically, similar to drinking a soda in what it does to your blood sugar. Oatly, probably the most famous oat milk brand, has 7 grams of sugar per cup, even the unsweetened versions. So very high in sugar content, but even, at 7 grams, what it's doing to the glycemic index is it's spiking it very, very high. The other thing is oats are a grain that is sprayed very heavily with glyphosate. Many oat milks are not organic. So you can get things like glyphosate in your oat milk. So you want to be very careful making sure you are doing organic, but really because of what it does to blood sugar, I do not recommend ever touching oat milk. I know it's creamy, but go for something like a cashew milk, macadamia, or make your own almond milk. So much creamier, so much better. And, then you're still getting that dairy-free alternative, but not spiking your blood sugar. Then we look at the mass-produced almond milk, really any of the non-dairy milks. They're often going to have, emulsifiers. They're going to have they're often going to have carrageenan, and this is an emulsifier that's been linked to inflammation, altered gut permeability, and immune dysregulation in animals. They often are going to have seed oils, they're going to have gums, they're going to have synthetic vitamins, they're going to have natural flavors. Some brands even will add sugar, but you just have to be really mindful of the ingredients. It should be, for almond milk, almonds, water, maybe some vanilla, maybe some cinnamon. That's really all it takes. You'll find that in most almond milk brands, you're going to have 6, 7, 8 ingredients from these fillers. So make your own. You can really easily make it. You can use it if you've got a blender. Now there's even almond milk little machines that you can buy that will actually do it for you, but it's really just almonds, water, and whatever you want to flavor it with. I always do cinnamon and vanilla, and it comes out so much creamier, and you're not getting all these crazy gums and emulsifiers in your non-dairy milk. Next, we're going to go into flavored yogurt. Yogurt can absolutely be a very healthy staple of our diet. However, most yogurts are loaded with sugar. You've got brands that add fruit on the bottom, but many brands just add sugar. Most yogurts actually have more sugar than a donut, with somewhere between 15 and 20 grams of added sugar per serving. That's insane. And so you really want to look at the sugar in your yogurt and see what's in there. So the low fat versions, people always think that they're doing something better by not getting a bunch of fat from the dairy, but the fat that's in the yogurt actually will slow the glucose absorption, so it's going to prevent your blood sugar from spiking. So this is going to keep your blood sugar more stable. We think of it more like rolling hills rather than these steep peaks and crashes. You have a lot of them that have artificial flavors. Most conventional yogurt is artificially flavored. Even if it says natural flavors, those are just umbrella terms. Artificial flavors means that it's all made in a lab. Natural flavors mean that some of it was made in a lab. Most of it was coming from fruit. But again, umbrella terms. We have no idea what those ingredients are, so you have to be mindful of that. And then we also have the quality. A lot of conventional yogurt is from conventional cows. And so if you wouldn't eat the cow, I wouldn't touch the dairy coming from it. And so you want to make sure that they're not getting, glyphosate treated grains, they're not getting antibiotics. So you want an organic grass-fed dairy if you're doing the cow version. And then all the same things go for the almond milk and coconut milk, avoiding sugar, all of that. Just you don't have to worry about the animal source coming from those non-dairy sources. In 2016, Harvard did a study and found that full-fat dairy was associated with a lower risk of obesity and diabetes compared to the low-fat versions. That's against everything everyone has said, right? Everyone always said, pull out the fats. It's going to help help you lose weight. It's going to help you stay thin. But this study found that full-fat dairy was associated with a lower risk of obesity and diabetes. That is huge. So again, it's not the fat in these things that we're worried about. It's all of the fillers, what the cows were fed, the sourcing, the sugar. That's more what we're concerned with in these yogurt. The next thing we're going to dive into is the granola and protein bars. Protein bars, most of them are just glorified chocolate candy bars, is really what they are. They usually contain about the same amount of sugar, terrible ingredients, and they don't taste as good. And so when you look at things like Nature Valley, RX, Kind, they're often using organic cane sugar. Many of them will actually use something called brown rice syrup, and people go, oh, brown rice, that's healthy, but brown rice syrup is just another name for sugar. These bars will still have 10 to 20 grams of sugar per bar. So you're, again, people thinking they're having a healthy snack, and they're getting 10 to 20 grams of sugar in their so-called health bar. Many of them are going to have seed oils. They're going to have, chicory root and inulin, which are known to trigger bloating in a lot of people with gut imbalances. Many of these protein bars are going to use really junky forms of protein. They're going to use soy protein isolate, whey concentrate, rice protein. We don't know where they're coming from. A lot of them can be coming from China, filled with heavy metals. Again, if you want a protein snack, just go for something that's naturally high in protein. These artificial bars are really, there's nothing great in them for most brands of protein bars. Something I see people all the time eating are veggie chips, and they'll give their kids veggie chips because they think that they're getting vegetables instead of chips, but really they're not. They're often, show pictures of carrots and zucchini on the front, but they actually contain usually less than 5% of it is vegetables. They're going to have potato starch, corn flour, tapioca starch, which are ultra processed ingredients. These guys are going to spike blood sugar. They're usually cooked in some sort of inflammatory seed oil, canola, vegetable oil, sunflower oil. And then usually because they're cooked at high temperature, they're going to oxidize, which is going to, again, hurt the gut lining. They contain very little fiber, no vitamins, and really there's nothing to them that's really healthy. Similar to the brown rice craze was the whole wheat bread craze. I think a lot of people moved away from sourdough and white bread and moved into whole wheat bread because they felt that it was healthier. Whole wheat bread has a glycemic index of 71 to 73, pretty much the exact same as white bread. The problem with grains is many of them are genetically modified. We spray very, very heavily on grains. So often non-organic grains are going to be loaded with glyphosate and loaded with pesticides and herbicides. Really avoiding whole wheat bread is crucial. Move over to something like sourdough or, going away from bread altogether. The next thing we're going to talk about is agave syrup. This was probably in the 2010 era, really came to the market of this healthy new sweetener alternative that was better than sugar. And it's really not. It's composed of 85 to 90% fructose, which is going to actually bypass insulin, which is the guy that helps grab the sugar and get it into the cells. And it goes straight to the liver. So when we have, it goes straight to the liver, it can be stored as fat. And this excess fructose increases lipogenesis, contributing to fatty liver, leptin resistance, and high triglycerides. Unlike glucose, fructose does not trigger you to feel full or you to feel like you're satisfied. So this is where people will keep eating and eating and eating because the hormones that tell them, oh, I'm full, or oh, that was enough, don't kick on like insulin will do. The Journal of Clinical Investigation found that high fructose diets increase liver fat and insulin resistance within just 10 days. And so agave, it's super sweet, but it's way worse than sugar. I would rather someone have cane sugar that the body knows what to do than agave nectar. Very sweet, and again, has its own set of issues. It's not this magic sweetener that, you can have guilt-free. The next thing we're going to look at is salad dressings. So when you're looking at salad dressings, we used to always go, low fat, low calorie, and that was kind of what people based it off of. However, these salad dressings that are low fat, the fat is removed. So these low fat salad dressings, they remove the fat, they add sugar, they add gums, they add thickeners, they add flavors, and many of them are going to be seed oil based. It's very hard to find a low fat or even really any salad dressing that's not going to be seed oil based. Even the organic brands are still often seed oil based. There's a few amazing brands like Primal Kitchen that is all avocado oil based, but even, Annie's and these organic going to be seed oil based. The low fat salad dressings will pull out the fat, and when you do that, it impairs the absorption of a lot of the fat soluble vitamins that are going to come in from your salad, vitamin A, D, E, and K. Salad dressings as a whole, yes, there's a low fat piece that we don't love, but there's a lot of other sketchy ingredients in salad dressing. We've got a ton of added sugar. You're often going to see cane sugar, you're going to see honey, agave, rice syrup, some sort of sweetener in there. We're going to see natural flavors. Again, natural flavors is just an umbrella term. It sounds like natural makes it healthy. It means that some of the ingredients have to come from natural sources, but there is wiggle room for some to not. So you often will see them put in MSG, preservatives, solvents under this umbrella term so that it's not on the label. We've got gums and carrageenan. This, again, will cause gut inflammation. We've seen it linked to irritable bowel disease. You've got titanium dioxide in there, which is linked as a carcinogen. This is often in Caesar dressing. We've got MSG. We've got preservatives, all sorts of nasty ingredients that hang out in these salad dressings that you can buy at the store. Then we've got the Beyond and Impossible meats. It is no secret I am a very anti-vegan diet person. I do not believe that you can maintain a level of health for most people with a long-term vegan diet. I was a vegan for a long time, years and years ago. I tried it, thought it was going to save me, did well for a little bit, and then ended up just very, very depleted. And for most people, I really don't think that going the vegan route works. So seeing these meats pop up, I hate saying it so much. So, they're ultra processed. You're imitating meat, which is just meat. There's one ingredient, ground beef or ground turkey or whatever meat you're eating. But we've got soy protein isolate, you've got methyl cellulose, dextrose, we've got seed oils, we've got natural flavors. They're often containing genetically modified ingredients. They are manufactured foods. There's no part of it that is real food. So this is, to me, the ultra processed diet. So I am very, very against these. A study in Scientific Reports found that these glycated proteins from these highly processed artificial meats increased our risk of oxidative stress and inflammation. They're going to also lack all of the vitamins and minerals that meat has. That's one of the reasons meat is such a great food, is because it's just loaded with vitamins and minerals. So you're not going to have the heme iron. You're not going to have B12. You're not going to have zinc. You're not going to have all these amazing vitamins and minerals and amino acids that red meat has. So again, that's something there's a hard line in the sand on. If you're a vegan, just stay away from those. Again, I'm really not a big fan of vegan diets, but really not a big fan of those. Then we've got store-bought green juices. So you can juice at home, and that's a great thing to have. But the problem with a lot of these store-bought green juices is, one, a lot of them are sweetened just with fruit, but they're using a lot of fruit to make them taste good. So you're seeing apple, you're seeing pear, pineapple, some sort of fruit in there. And you have to put a lot of fruit in these juices to make them, you put a lot of fruit to get the juice. And so you often wouldn't sit down and eat half a pineapple, 2 apples, a pear, a bunch of kale, a whole cucumber, a whole lemon. You wouldn't do that. But when you juice it, because you're pulling out all the fiber, all you're getting is, yes, the vitamins and minerals, but you're getting all the sugar as well. So when you have these green juices that are just super high in fruit, it is going to spike your blood sugar very, very fast because there's no fiber to slow down that blood sugar spike. When we sell them in a store, they're often pasteurized as well, and that's going to reduce the vitamin antioxidant levels, the polyphenols, the enzymes by up to 50%. So I'm a really big fan. If you are going to juice, go no fruit, which it's a different flavor to do that, but go no fruit or very low fruit and do it at home. Make your juices at home so that you, one, can control it, and two, they're not pasteurized. So really, I mean, we're talking about those foods. They're all highly processed. If I had my way, I would really keep people away from processed foods altogether. They're not healthy for us. Yes, you can have them here and there as a treat or a snack, but staying away from processed foods is really the key. Now I want to dive into foods that have been villainized. Foods that for years and years they said these cause heart disease, these cause cancer, these cause obesity, these cause you to get fat. And now the research is showing maybe that wasn't true. So the first one is eggs. Eggs and egg yolks. People then got into the egg white craze, right? Removing the egg yolks. So egg yolks are rich in choline, which is going to really help your liver detox. So it helps with our neurotransmitter production, especially acetylcholine. So this is crucial for our memory, crucial for focus. They're going to give us vitamin A, retinol, which is crucial for our immune system, crucial for skin, crucial for our hormone synthesis. It's also great sources of biotin, B12, selenium, DHA. All these great minerals come from eggs. So a study in 2020, it was a meta-analysis looking at 1.4 million participants, found no significant link between egg consumption and cardiovascular disease in healthy individuals. So these guys are crucial for our hormones, for our neurotransmitters, for our vitamins, for our brain health. And what we were scared of, they showed there was no significant risk to cardiovascular disease in healthy individuals. So I think eggs are a very, very healthy part of someone's diet. Then we have grass-fed meat. Red meat, again, another thing that was villainized for many years. That it was going to cause heart disease as well. And so it's going to have a ton of iron. It has heme iron, the most bioavailable form of iron. And vegans will always argue that you can get enough iron from your spinach, you can get it from plant sources, and the bioavailability is not even remotely close. You are dealing with a very bioavailable form of heme iron in red meat with a very low form in spinach and beans and all of that. They also contain B12, zinc, and carnitine. And grass-fed beef is going to have higher levels of omega-3s, and it's going to have antioxidants like vitamin E and glutathione. So what did they scare us with? They said that if you eat a bunch of red meat, it's going to cause heart disease. Well, a large meta-analysis in 2019 showed no strong association between unprocessed red meat and heart disease or cancer when controlling for lifestyle factors. So healthy individuals, they saw no strong association between unprocessed, so it's grass-fed. We're not talking about the processed forms of it, but some of your smoked meats and stuff like that, but unprocessed red meat and heart disease and cancer. We need red meat for our thyroid, we need it for our adrenal, we need it for our energy, we need it for muscle, we need it for our brain. It is such an important thing to have into a diet. Should we only eat red meat? No. But is it something that we should eat fairly regularly? I do believe it is part of a healthy diet. The next is butter or ghee. So this is assuming that someone can have dairy. Butter and ghee, and it should be coming from a grass-fed cow. So if you wouldn't eat the cow, don't use the butter from it. But butter contains butyrate, which is a short-chain fatty acid that is crucial for a healthy gut. And it's going to support, gut health. It's going to support anti-inflammatory signaling, and it can even help with insulin sensitivity. It's going to be rich in vitamin K2, which helps move calcium into bones and out of the arteries. Full-fat dairy consumption has been linked to lower rates of obesity and metabolic disease. That was a study in 2016. Ghee is going to be the clarified version of butter. So it's better for those that have dairy sensitivities. It's casein and lactose free, but it's highly heat stable. So when you're looking at butter is very high heat stable. So is ghee. Something like olive oil is not very high heat stable. So you don't really want to use olive oil to cook in because it's better for low temperatures. So butter and ghee are high temperature. You've got coconut oil and you've got avocado oil that are the oils that, and what I would replace the seed oils with, it would be, again, butter, coconut oil, avocado oil for cooking, olive oil for salad dressings. Moving into coconut oil. Coconut oil is going to be a medium chain triglyceride. You'll hear people call it MCTs. That's what that stands for. And this is going to bypass normal fat digestion and are going to be used directly by the liver for clean energy. So it has lauric acid in it, which has antimicrobial properties, which helps reduce pathogenic bacteria, fungi like candida, and viruses. Studies show that coconut oil may improve HDL levels and support waist circumference reduction. It doesn't oxidize, so like a lot of the seed oils we just talked about, it will oxidize at high heat. Coconut oil does not, and it's going to be safe for high heat cooking. It does have a little bit of a sweeter taste, so I always say you want to make sure that pairs well. For something that you want a little more savory, I will use butter instead, or ghee. Coconut oil, because it has that sweeter taste, some things don't taste great being cooked in it. Fruit, I think, has been vilified. It's been, used. People love it, and there's fruitarians that only eat fruit. And fruit is something that is very healthy. It's full of polyphenols, it's full of fiber, it's got antioxidants, and these guys are shown to lower inflammation, support gut health, help regulate a glucose response. But I will say, really, where the best way to eat them is to pair them with a fat or a protein. So having, berries and some nuts, or an apple and almond butter. That's really going to be, I think, the max benefit of fruit. Berries, apples, and citrus fruits have low glycemic loads, but they're very, very nutrient dense. They say berries are the most nutrient dense fruit, pound per pound. You've got, when we chew it, it's going to trigger an insulin response, so it helps for the blood sugar signaling. It's really helpful. All these vitamins and minerals for detox, for just normal hormone health, for liver health, all of the things that come from the fruit is very helpful in terms of just keeping the body healthy. But it can also be a great way to still feel like you're getting treats and a snack that is a little sweeter, but isn't going to spike your blood sugar, isn't going to cause issues. Something like a protein bar might, or, if someone goes for that 2-3 o'clock, sugar craves come in and they want their, dark chocolate. Well, what you can do is have some, apples and an almond butter snack, and that often will curb the sugar cravings without actually having a lot of sugar. So we talked about arsenic in the brown rice and wanting to not eat brown rice. I want to talk about white rice. So in white rice, it's very low in arsenic. We do want it to be organic. All of the grains you want to eat organic if possible, so that you're not getting any pesticides or herbicides, but it's going to be lower in phytic acid, but it's going to have fiber, so it's going to be great for after workouts. So if you have a hard workout, it can really help with the post-workout glycogen replenishment. So basically kind of replenishing what you've just expended in a workout, especially for people that have sensitive adrenals, have had adrenal fatigue. Having these carbs can be crucial to not having big crashes. They really help stabilize blood sugar, they regulate leptin, and especially, you don't want to just eat rice by itself, but when paired with, proteins and fats, it can really be a blood sugar stabilizer. The next thing I want to talk about is bone broth. So we didn't talk about highly processed collagen, protein powder, and all of that. We could have gone on a list of 500 things I wouldn't recommend eating, but I had to keep it short. So bone broth is a fabulous source of collagen, and collagen is going to help with our skin. And as we age, our collagen drops. We get lower and lower amounts of collagen production. So eating it and ingesting it really can help keep the collagen in our body. This helps keep our skin tight. This helps our muscles. This helps really the whole body needs collagen. So bone broth is going to contain collagen, but it also has glycine, proline, glutamine, all these amino acids. And these guys are crucial for keeping the gut lining nice and tight. when we get leaky gut, these guys come in and can help keep the gut lining tight. They're going to help the immune modulation, and they help liver detoxification. It's going to be rich in minerals like calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, all in bioavailable forms. Considering if you're eating, true bone broth, not highly processed bone broth, it can be so simple. We'll do a whole chicken one night and then throw the carcass into the crock pot and make some bone broth, and you get amazing bone broth that way. You can buy bones from the butcher and get, they're very, very reasonable, and make some bone broth that way. But they're going to really help with our joints, with our skin, and is very tasty. I love bone broth. It's one of my favorite things. I usually do it as like a 2 to 3 p.m. snack is a cup of bone broth, especially in the winter. There's nothing better. Then the last thing that really is something that people, I don't know there was any data that it was bad, but it was just people used to be a staple of people's diets, and then people kind of got away from it. I will say it's not the tastiest thing, but now there's ways around it, is liver and organ meats. These are nature's multivitamin. So 1 ounce of liver gives you 700% of your daily B12, 500% of your vitamin A, nearly the full amount of iron, folate, copper, and zinc that you need. This is going to support your methylation, your red blood cell formation, detox, energy. Especially women that have very heavy periods can be quite helpful. It contains CoQ10, which is a crucial vitamin for mitochondrial health and our cardiovascular system. Eating organ meat is definitely an acquired taste. Now you can buy ground beef that has an organ blend in it, and you can do it in tacos and spaghetti, and that way you really can't tell. The other way is to get organ blend supplements, and to buy it, you just want to make sure, again, coming from a grass-fed and finished cow, but it is a great way to get in as a multi. Just take your organ blends daily. So again, really the keys I want to bring home is eat real foods. Eat them in their natural source. Good quality meats, fats, use good oils, fruits, veggies. That is the balanced diet. Stay away from the highly processed stuff. And again, do a little bit of research. If you're curious about something and it's been vilified, maybe look into it or reach out to us. I'm happy to send you some research on maybe that is healthy, maybe it's not. But again, the more ingredients, the less likely it is it's healthy. The more processed, the less likely it's healthy. My rule, if it's got more than 5 ingredients, don't touch it. And if you can't pronounce a single one of them, don't touch it. But again, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all next week.